Rousseau faces his central challenge: to find a form of association which will defend and protect with the whole common force the person and goods of each associate, and in which each, while uniting himself with all, may still obey himself alone and remain as free as before. How can you enter civil society while remaining as free as before? In nature, you were free because you obeyed only your own will. How can political association preserve this? Both Hobbes and Locke failed to solve this. Hobbes created absolute sovereignty where subjects obey the sovereign's will. Locke's limited government still involves obeying laws decided by representatives. In both cases, you obey another's will. Rousseau's solution: each of us puts his person and all his power in common under the supreme direction of the general will, and in our corporate capacity, we receive each member as an indivisible part of the whole. Each person gives themselves completely to the community, not to a ruler or representatives, but to the collective body. This total alienation seems to create absolute power over individuals, contradicting the goal of preserving freedom. But Rousseau argues this preserves freedom for three reasons. First, each gives himself to all, so to nobody in particular. There's no person who has power over you that you don't equally share. Second, the alienation is mutual and total, so conditions are equal for all. Third, in obeying the general will, you obey only yourself, because you're part of that will's formation. The social contract creates a moral and collective body, the sovereign, composed of all citizens as active participants in legislation. This sovereign cannot be represented, cannot be divided, and must concern itself only with the common interest. Rousseau distinguishes between the sovereign, the people as legislative power, and the government, the administrative body executing laws. The people must remain sovereign, continuously exercising legislative power, while delegating only executive functions. This is radical direct democracy. The people don't elect representatives to make laws. That would alienate sovereignty. The people themselves must assemble regularly to exercise legislative power. Any law not ratified by the people in person is void. You trade natural freedom for civil freedom. You can no longer do whatever you want, but you're protected by law, and you participate equally in making that law. Most importantly, you obey only rules you've helped create. The general will is Rousseau's most original and controversial contribution. It's also his most misunderstood concept. First, what it is not. It is not the will of all, not simply the sum of individual preferences. Rousseau explicitly distinguishes between these. The will of all is aggregate preference, add up what each wants. This might involve majorities benefiting themselves at minorities' expense. The general will is not about what each person happens to want, but about what's genuinely in the common interest. It's the will directed at the common good, concerning what we share as citizens rather than what divides us as private individuals. How do we identify it? When citizens deliberate properly, without factions or manipulation, and vote on laws, the general will emerges. If citizens ask not what's best for me, but what's best for us as a community, and each votes their honest judgment, then majority rule approximates the general will. This requires conditions. First, citizens must be relatively equal in wealth and status. Second, they must possess civic virtue, caring about the common good. Third, there must be no partial associations or factions. And fourth, citizens must be informed and deliberate seriously. When these conditions are met, the majority vote identifies the general will, not because the majority creates it, but because they discover it. The general will exists objectively as what's genuinely in the common interest. This explains Rousseau's most notorious phrase: "Those who refuse to obey the general will shall be compelled to do so by the whole body. This means nothing less than that he will be forced to be free. Rousseau's logic: if the general will genuinely represents the common interest, and you're part of the community whose common interest it serves, then obeying it is obeying something actually in your interest as a citizen, even if it conflicts with your immediate private preference. You're forced to obey your better self. But this raises problems. Who determines what the general will is? What if I genuinely believe a law doesn't serve the common good? Rousseau's answer: if you're in the minority when the law is voted on, this shows you were mistaken. The majority has revealed your judgment was wrong. This eliminates space for conscientious objection or minority rights. If the majority always reveals the general will, and obeying it is freedom, then majorities can't never tyrannize minorities. Rousseau does set limits. The general will must concern general matters, laws applying to all. It must aim at the common interest, not factional advantage. But he isn't always clear about these limits or how they're protected. The general will provided theoretical foundation for popular sovereignty. It inspired democratic movements, but it also provided language that revolutionary governments would use to justify suppressing dissent in the people's name.